the co-chairman of ICSES and the National Security Advisor, represented by Sanusi Galadima, the head of the lead agency in election security, the IGP himself, the chairman of NDLEA, National Commissioners INEC, representatives of the various security agencies, the media, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome all members of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security to this meeting, coming after the conclusion of the Presidential and National Assembly elections and on the eve of governorship, State Assembly, and Area Council elections in the Federal Capital Territory. This is a very important meeting indeed. It is also the last consultative meeting before the second phase of voting in the 2019 general elections. On Saturday, 9th March 2019, Nigerians are once again going to the polls to elect governors in 29 states, 991 members of houses of assembly in all the states of the Federation, 6 chairmen, as well as 62 councillors for the area councils in the FCT. A total of 1,082 candidates will be elected by citizens across the country. Learning from the experience of the Presidential and National Assembly elections held about 2 weeks ago, the Commission has effectively tackled the challenge of logistics. Materials for the election have been delivered to all the states and the FCT. Movement to the local government areas will be completed today, and by tomorrow, all materials and relevant personnel will arrive at the registration centers. With this arrangement, we are confident that all polling units will open at 8 in the morning nationwide. In addition to elections in 1,082 constituencies nationwide, the Commission will conduct supplementary elections in 14 states of the Federation, covering 7 senatorial districts and 24 federal constituencies. Elections in the affected areas were disrupted mainly by acts of violence involving ballot box snatching, abduction of INEC officials, overvoting, and failure to adhere to regulations and guidelines. The number of registered voters in the polling units involved in each constituency is more than the votes received by the candidate with the highest number of votes. Supplementary elections must therefore be conducted to determine the winners. Consequently, the Commission decided to conduct the supplementary National Assembly polls on Saturday alongside the governorship and State Assembly elections. Full details of the constituencies involved have been communicated to stakeholders in the affected states and will also be available on our website for public information later today. Similarly, the list of candidates that emerge winners in the senatorial and House of Representatives elections held on the 23rd of February 2019 will also be available on our website later today. For senatorial districts and federal constituencies in which winners have already emerged, the Commission will issue their certificates of return next week. Preparations for the elections holding this weekend in 1,082 constituencies require the full attention of the Commission. We reckon that the elected candidates are also busy campaigning in their constituencies for the remaining elections. The certificates of return shall be presented at the International Conference Center, Abuja, on the basis of the following schedule. Date: Thursday, 14th March 2019. Senators-elect, 10 in the morning. Members of the House of Representatives-elect, 2 in the afternoon. Certificates of return for governors and deputy governors-elect, members of state houses of assembly-elect, and chairmen and councillors for the FCT shall be presented in each state of the Federation by the supervising national commissioners and the resident electoral commissioners on a date to be announced next week. As Nigerians go to the polls this weekend, the Commission expresses its appreciation to the security agencies for securing the environment without which the largely peaceful conduct of the exercise would not have been possible. In the course of securing the elections, the security agencies, electoral officials, and innocent Nigerians have suffered needless attacks, resulting in casualties, including death and loss of personal and official properties. On behalf of the Commission, I extend our deepest condolence to the families of those who lost their lives, including personnel of the security agencies. We are glad that the police has made several arrests and investigation is ongoing. I wish to assure Nigerians that the Commission will work very closely with the Inspector General of Police and the Nigerian Police to ensure the diligent prosecution of all violators of our electoral laws. Citizens are asking for effective but non-intrusive protection before, during, and immediately after elections, in which their rights are respected and their choices safeguarded. While we look forward to the same cooperation with the security agencies, I am confident that lessons learned from the presidential and National Assembly elections will help us to more effectively secure the environment for the elections this weekend. The Commission is concerned that many of our materials, including ballot boxes, voting cubicles, voters' registers, and smart card readers, were lost to acts of hooliganism and thuggery in the elections held 2 weeks ago. Most worrisome is the attack on electoral officials. Some of our staff were abducted and taken hostage in an attempt to disrupt elections or influence the outcome. In fact, some of the supplementary elections I referred to earlier were caused by such acts of thuggery. I'm confident that working together with the security agencies will consolidate on the largely peaceful conduct of the Presidential and National Assembly elections, while also taking decisive steps to deal with the minority of violators intent on disrupting the conduct of peaceful elections. However, the Commission will not tolerate the act of holding our officials hostage and forcing them to declare winners under duress. Where such occurs, the Commission will not reward bad behavior by issuing them the certificates of return. We have once again reconfigured the smart card readers for the elections on Saturday. The use of the card readers is mandatory, and there will be no exemption to their deployment for accreditation of voters. Under our regulations and guidelines, there are clear penalties for the deliberate failure to deploy them on the part of our staff. Where such happens with the connivance of communities, the result of election in the polling unit or polling units will be cancelled and zero vote recorded. For the elections holding this weekend, the Commission will still maintain its situation room at the International Conference Center to monitor the elections nationwide and respond to issues that may arise. No election results will be collated and no declaration of winners will be done at the ICC. All collation and declaration of results will be done at the various constituency and state declaration centers. The situation room will be open from tomorrow, Friday, 8th March 2019, until Wednesday, 13th March 2019. As was the case 2 weeks ago, the situation room will be open to visitation by interested media organizations, domestic and international observers from Saturday, 9th March 2019 on the basis of the following schedule. Media organizations, 11 a.m. to 12 noon. Domestic observers, 2 to 3 p.m. International observers, 5 to 6 p.m. Once again, I welcome all members of ICSES to this meeting. There is a lot to discuss during the working session. I thank you very much for your attention.